Hey guys, what's up? It's me, SoundBlow33 here, and welcome to the show about Pokemon TCG stuff, Mix Up. And today we're talking. This is our first episode after. I guess it's not the first, but the first single deck review after Plasma Storm has been released, and that is about White Kyurem EX from Plasma Storm, which, in my opinion, I think could be a very interesting deck, and it's with the Emboar being the energy accelerator. It's very similar to Blastoise, which is of course like contender for best deck in the format. So, why not? Why shouldn't it be good? So, yeah, why don't you go watch the video or the rest of the video and see how the deck did, everything. See how it did. See how. I should just shut up now. Go watch, continue watching.
White Kyurem EX is one of the less hyped EXs of our new set, Plasma Storm. While it's not as bad as Zapdos and Moltres, in my opinion, it's definitely less powerful than the likes of Black Kyurem, Cobalion, and Lugia. I think there could be some potential in this card, so let's take a look at it. I've already talked about this card in my review of Plasma Storm, so let's just take a quick look at its second attack, White Inferno. White Inferno costs 2 fire, 1 water, and 1 colorless, and it does 100 damage plus 10 more for each damage counter on White Kyurem. As I said in my Plasma Storm review, if White Kyurem gets hit by a standard attack, Night Spear, Secret Sword, Goldbreaker, White Inferno will be able to knock out any EX in one hit. And even without the hit, 100 damage ain't bad. But you might say, well, what if they just hit it twice on the bench with Night Spear, then use Laser Burbank plus Night Spear, or Hammerhead at 150 Lens Judgment to knock it out? Then it doesn't do enough damage. Well, to that I say, Crystal Edge! Hopefully this one huge knockout will be enough to make up for your other 2 AKOs you'll be doing. But, of course, there has to be some drawback, that being the energy accelerator, Emboar. Now, Emboar isn't that bad. We should be thankful it isn't a grass type. But Emboar not only doesn't have the Shell Shield ability Squirtle has, but it also has a horrid, and I mean horrid, 4 retreat cost. And unlike Blastoise, your main attacker doesn't have Rush in, so you're going to need a lot of switch. But, on the plus side, you can run Keldeo yourself to basically reduce your retreat cost to 2 with Rush in. So, because for some reason I like this concept, I decided to give this deck the honor of being my first Plasma Storm deck for mix-up. Here's the list I've decided on after rigorous testing. I've tried to make it as close to my Blastoise list as possible, and I think that's the best way to make it, as your Pokemon mostly require the same setup as Blastoise, which is one of the reasons I think this deck has potential. It's very similar to a very popular deck. Even though the Emboar deck doesn't have the Rush-In and Shell Shield abilities it probably wishes it had, each of its forms have 10 more HP than all of Blastoise's forms. It's more resistant to a first turn donk, and Emboar is resistant to Darkrai plus Darkrai plus Laser plus Burbank. I have 2 of the new White Kyurem and the White Kyurem EX from Boundaries Crossed. The Boundaries Crossed one can do enough to KO Stage 2s in one hit, or EXs if you have Crystal Edge. For some EXs, you don't even need Crystal Edge, since the added burn can be enough to KO Keldeo and Mewtwo if they get tails. Keldeo is to help out Emboar when it gets captured, because otherwise you need a switch or 4 energy to get it out of there. It can even use Secret Sword for a decent amount of damage, since you're running water energy for White Kyurem. Speaking of, White Kyurem can get wrecked by Mewtwo due to its high energy cost, so I included a Mewtwo of my own to counteract it. Reshiram is just there as a way to deal with Kling Clang, which Reshiram pretty much destroys if you have the energy for it. It's also the only non-EX attacker in the deck, just in case you need your opponent to take 7 prizes. As you can see, I only have room for 3 catcher. I wanted the deck to be as consistent as possible, so I had to make some cuts that I really wish it didn't have to. 3 switch plus the Keldeo should be enough to keep your Emboar out of the active. The Heavy Ball can get out not only Emboar, but also White Kyurem as well. Level Ball is just there so you can Skylight or Tepig without a drawback. The supporters are pretty standard, but I do have 2 Tropical Beach in here. As I said, I wanted to make this deck as good as possible, and Tropical Beach fits that slot quite nicely. I would have liked to have a few more energy, but this deck doesn't consume quite as much energy as Blastoise, so the counts I have should work fine. I'd also like to go over the matchups of the best decks very briefly. Darkrai pretty much just outspeeds you, and early Laser Burbank is deadly. Even with Keldeo, it forces you to waste switches, or take 90 damage from a trainer card. But if you can get set up and they hit into your White Kyurem, it's going to be fun. Against Landers, you want to set up Keldeo and KO their Landers, and if they build up a Mewtwo, use your own to KO it. Again, early lasers can be a big issue. Blastoise is pretty tough to beat. They can very easily KO your Emboar you worked so hard to set up, but it might boil down to the epic battle between Black Kyurem and White Kyurem. It's like a Mewtwo war, but 1,000 times more epic. They probably have more energy than you, so that will help them, but you have Crystal Edge, so it's all good. But if that doesn't happen, you'll most likely lose. Kling Klang is just asking for you to tech Reshiram. If your Reshiram goes down, use Emboar. Bright Eels will usually win because it's more consistent. They're both using Dragon EXs that one-shot each other, but you have to work a lot harder to get yours set up. It's like the Bright Eels mirror match going second, and you run a 2-2 electric line, and you only have 3 fires and 4 lightning energy. You lose to Garbodor because you don't run Tool Scrapper, and all your Pokemon need 3 or 4 energy. Just hope they only use Landers and power up a Keldeo. So what's the result of my latest abomination? Well, as I said, this list I have here was made after a lot of testing, and until more recent builds, the list was more its own thing. It wasn't just an Emboar mirror of Blastoise, so I haven't tested the newer versions as much as I would have liked. But from what I have played, it seems alright. My testing with Blastoise has been going much better than this deck, and I'm honestly not quite sure why. The deck does very well once set up, but I just can't seem to draw anything when I need it. Supporters? Nope. Emboar? Not a chance. Energy? Sometimes. But every deck has that problem. I have the same supporter/beach count, same Emboar and Tepig count, same ball count, only 1 less energy. The ace deck's different, but I haven't been drawing Crystal Edge and Wish It Was Computer Search very often at all. I just don't get it. I really, really don't.
And there you have it. That's White Kyurem. Not exactly a competitive deck like I hoped it would be, but it's fun. It's probably a fun deck to try out if you want to try it out. It definitely has its good moments when you're playing it. So, yeah, anyway, for our next week's episode, we'll be talking about I'll be talking about Victini EX and how that is in a lot of different decks. That probably not be limited to just one deck. There's plenty of decks you can try Victini out in. And yeah, also starting a week from today, no, a week from tomorrow will be the first state championships. So yeah, you guys better prepare for states because that is the next big thing coming up, and I'll definitely be preparing for that. In fact, Victini EX might even be on my list of possible decks because, I don't know how good it is yet. I haven't played enough with it. So anyway, yep, thanks for watching. See you guys next week for Victini EX. Later.
And it's similar to Blastoise as possible, and Tropical Bitch... Bleh. Did I just say Tropical Bitch?